Surprise. Kathleen Zellner filed something else today. I have not read it yet. Just got it. We just posted it here in Stephen Avery Project in MAM Gossip. So I am going to go through it, reading it right now. I haven't read it yet, so I don't know anything that's in it. There was a filing, and then there's some more exhibits. And Christy's already been reading it since I had sent it, and she's saying, holy shit. All right. So let's go through this, shall we? It's filed today with the clerk of Court of Appeals. And it starts off with saying, Dear Justices, I will not apologize for being forced to send a letter to supplement Mr. Avery's pending motion because, as the attached transcript and CD illustrate, and I do not have a copy of the CD. I was told if I want the CD, I have to request it from the attorney. The state is trying to deceive undersigned counsel and this court about the status of the pelvic bone number 86753, which was recovered in 2005 from the Manitowoc gravel pit. The state has continuously represented to undersigned counsel since 2016 that the state was in possession of the pelvic bone number 8675. Undersigned counsel received a packet of never before disclosed ledger seats on Friday, February 8, 2019. Undersigned counsel noted that the new ledgers showed that the pelvic bone was listed as item number 9 and as being only human. Attached and incorporated herein as a Group Exhibit 1 are new CCSD ledgers 87 to 90. The ledgers disclosed to prior counsel state blah, 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 do not have the September 11, 2011 entry. The September 20, 2011 police report has been previously provided to this court as Exhibit A to the January 24, 2019 motion to stay the appeal and remand the cause for proceedings on claims for relief in connection with the state's violation of Wisconsin statute 968.205 and Youngblood versus Arizona. The report indicates that the human bones from 8675 were separated from the non-human bones, and all the human bones were transferred to the Whiting Funeral Home for return to the Halbach family. In light of this new information that the pelvic bone number 8675 was categorized as human and therefore would have been returned to the Halbach family, undersigned counsel made 2 urgent email requests today of Assistant Attorney General Thomas Fallon, attached and incorporated herein as Group Exhibit 2, are the 2 email requests to Mr. Fallon to call undersigned counsel immediately on her cell phone to confirm whether or not the state was in possession of the human pelvic bone 8675. Mr. Fallon has consistently represented to undersigned counsel for the last 3 years that the state was in possession of the pelvic bone. Attached and incorporated herein as Group Exhibit 3 are the documents reflecting undersigned counsel's request for 8675 to be produced for testing. Mr. Fallon never returned Ms. Zellner's telephone call and was instructed not to by his co-counsel, attorney Mark Williams. Mr. Williams inadvertently called Ms. Zellner's cell phone at 9:13 a.m. today and left a message for Mr. Fallon, which stated, quote, "Hi, Tom, this is Mark Williams. I'll send you an email later today, but I don't think we should do anything or respond to her at all until tomorrow, when we look into the bag and see exactly the pelvic bones are in there or not. So I I would not respond until we look into the bag tomorrow morning, and then we can talk about it before we send a response. Thanks a lot. Bye. Unquote. Attached incorporated herein as Group Exhibit 4 is a CD of the telephone call and transcript of that call. Clearly, for the last 3 years, Mr. Fallon has misrepresented that the state was in possession of the human pelvic bone 8675. On September 18, 2017, Mr. Fallon again misrepresented that the state was in possession of the pelvic bone 8675 when he agreed with undersigned counsel to allow microscopic examination of the pelvic bone to determine whether it is human. Specifically, undersigned counsel and Mr. Fallon agreed to have the state's expert, Dr. Leslie Eisenberg, and undersigned counsel's expert, Dr. Stephen Symes, perform a microscopic examination of 8675. Because of the new information produced in the previously undisclosed ledger sheets that 8675 was determined to be human, undersigned counsel does not know if prior undisclosed testing has occurred prior to the bones being returned to the Halbach family. See Group Exhibit 1, CCSD Ledger, page 90. Undersigned counsel respectfully requests that this court consider this letter and the attached exhibits in its ruling on Mr. Avery's pending motion, particularly this claim that the state has acted in bad faith in violation of Youngblood versus Arizona and his request for an evidentiary hearing on this matter. And that's all of that. Here, let me click on the attachments now and get these attachments to open. Tisk. All right, open, says me. Still waiting. Sorry, going slow here. Yep, Samantha, all together now. 8675. All right, so when I pull up the attachment here, number one is numbered 8694, which is a compact disc. Then it goes to 8700. I don't know what it says. Neckless, Neckless. So here, so these are all in. Here's 8675. It's got an asterisk on it. So 8675 on here is marked as a debris pile contents. Location found N44, 14 degrees, 51, W80, blah, 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 blah. Date, time collected 1136. And then when you look at the chain of custody, 131 Hawkins mail 06 sent to crime lab via mail. Then it went back to Hawkins on, does it look like 41006 to Deputy Rick something or another that I can't read that says processing. This next thing here is a Gmail. I gotta sneeze. Holy cow, hold on. Sorry about the sneeze. So this is a Gmail to Fallon from Kathleen, dated today at 4:49 a.m. that says, Mr. Fallon, as you know, we have a motion pending with the appellate court regarding the bones from the Manitowoc gravel pit. We've received ledger forms this last Friday, 2/8/19, that indicate that the human pelvic bone was returned to the Hallback family. Tag 8675. You have been representing to us for 2 years that the state has possession of the pelvic bone. On September 18, 2017, when Mr. Johnson and I met with you, Norm Gahn, and Mark Williams, you agreed to the microscopic examination of the pelvic bone by Dr. Eisenberg and Dr. Stephen Symes to conclusively determine if the bone was human. Now we learn that this pelvic bone may have been returned to the Hallbach family in 2011. We are requesting that you notify us immediately about the current status of the pelvic bone number 8675. Is the pelvic bone 8675 in the possession of the state, or was it returned to the Hallback family in 2011 or at any other time? We expect to hear from you immediately concerning this urgent matter. Sincerely, Kathleen Zellner. And so that was at 4:49 a.m. today. And then she sent another one to Thomas Fallon at 9:35 a.m. today that says, Mr. Fallon, as you know, we have a motion pending with the appellate court regarding the bones from the Manitowoc gravel pit. We received ledger forms this last Friday, 2/8/19, that indicate that the human pelvic bone was returned to the Hallbach family. Tag 8675. You have been representing to us for 2 years that the state has possession of the pelvic bone. On September 18, 2017, when Mr. Johnson and I met with you, Norm Gahn, and Mark Williams, you agreed to the microscopic examination of the pelvic bone by Dr. Eisenberg and Dr. Stephen Symes to conclusively determine if the bone was human. Now we learn that this pelvic bone may have been returned to the Hallback family in 2011. We are requesting that you notify us immediately about the current status of the pelvic bones number 8675. Is the pelvic bone 8675 in the possession of the state, or was it returned to the Hallback family in 2011 or at any other time? We expect to hear from you immediately concerning this urgent matter. Sincerely, Kathleen Zellner. And then on the bottom, it also says confidentiality notice. This communication is confidential and may contain privileged information. And then here again is, it shows a picture of the voicemail disc with the transcription of the message left, which is February 13, 2019, voicemail from Mark Williams. We will read it again. Hi, Tom. This is Mark Williams. I'll send you an email later today, but I don't think we should do anything or respond to her meaning Kathleen Zellner, at all until tomorrow. When we look into the bag and see exactly the pelvic bones are in there or not. So I would not respond until we look into the bag tomorrow morning, and then we can talk about it before we send a response. Thanks a lot. Bye. And then the next form on here is State of Wisconsin versus Stephen A. Avery, motion for post-conviction scientific testing, which was filed August 26, 2016. And what is asterisked on this document says Calumet County property number 8675. Mr. Avery is requesting DNA testing on the alleged human pelvic bones recovered from the quarry property southwest of the Avery salvage yard in order to conduct more advanced DNA testing to determine the origin of these bones. And then the next thing is email from Kathleen to Thomas Fallon that is dated March 20th, 2017 at 11:18 a.m. And it says, Dear Mr. Fallon, per your phone conversation with Ms. Zellner, I am providing the following item numbers for requested items. Calumet County tag number 8675, suspected human pelvic bones recovered from gravel pit south of Avery property. Next form is another email, Thomas Fallon, to Kathleen from Thomas Fallon, dated March 29th, 2017 at 9:40 a.m. Dear Kathleen, pursuant to our conversation on March 20th, I discussed your additional post-conviction discovery requests with Mr. Gahn and Lieutenant Wiegert. As we understand it, you have asked for the following information and or examinations. 1, the 212 voicemail message that Teresa Hallbach left on the Zippers answering machine on October 31. Investigator Dietering reports that Detective Jacobs made a copy. 2, the entire flyover footage of the Avery salvage yard on Friday, November 4, 2005. 3, Queso dispatch calls pertaining to Teresa Hallbach murder investigation from November 3, 2005 through 11/12/05. 4, item FL, the bullet fragment found in the garage which contained Hallbach's DNA. You requested production of this item for additional microscopic testing. And number 5, which is asterisked, item 8675, a bone fragment found on the Rat Ant Quarry property near hunting camp. This is the item that Dr. Eisenberg could not determine was human or not. You requested production of this item for additional microscopic testing to aid in that determination. Here are our thoughts. First, we have decided to provide some of the requested information, but we have questions we would like answered regarding the requested microscopic examinations, and we would like to know the results of the DNA source testing and microscopic examination on the key and the hood latch before we make any final decisions on the request for production of the bullet and the bone fragment. As to request number 1 above, we have not been able to locate a copy of the audio recording referred to by Detective Dietering in his report. Go figure. We have spoken to representatives of the Calumet and Manitowoc Sheriff's Offices. We are unable to locate this recording. As to request number 2, I think you have all that we have. According to our notes, a copy was provided on January 30, 2006. We will nonetheless provide a fresh copy of what we have. Lieutenant Wiegert is sending that to me, and I will forward it to you. As to request number 3, we have located those calls and will provide them to you. Lieutenant Wiegert is sending them to me. I will send them to you. As to request number 4 and 5, we would first like to know what are the results of the microscopic examinations and the DNA source testing on the key and the hood latch to put this current request in perspective. It appeared from our discussions that you know the results, but that a report had not yet, been prepared. The results will assist us in evaluating the latest request. This one is asterisked. Second, we would like to know what kind of new high-powered microscope will be used in the re-examination of the bullet fragment, like item FL and item 8675, the bone fragment. Are they the same new microscope? New is in italics. Equally important, who will be doing the examinations of these items and where would they be done? Next one is asterisked as well. Our preliminary is asterisked. Our preliminary foray back into the world of forensic anthropology yielded no report of new technology or procedures for re-examining a bone fragment like item 8675, calcined and damaged, that would assist in the identification of the fragment as human. Admittedly, we haven't heard back from all our sources. Thanks to your inquiry. Regards, Tom. And now here is a letter on Kathleen Zellner letterhead, dated April 4, 2017. Dear Mr. Fallon, And the very first paragraph is asterisk. Thank you for your prompt response to my request for the bullet fragment, item FL, and possible human pelvic bones, item 8675. The bullet fragment would be examined at Microtrace LLC, 790 Fletcher Drive, Suite 106, Elgin, Illinois, 60123, which is owned and operated by Skip and Dr. Christopher Palahniuk. They have informed me that they have an electron microscope that was produced in 2014. Dr. Christopher Palahniuk has provided me with the following background of their microscope and proposed analysis. Microtrace would conduct analysis of the 22 LR bullet fragment using a field emission scanning electron microscope with a silicon drift energy dispersive X-ray detector for elemental analysis. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read all that. It's not asterisk. So I'll just go down to where it's talking about regarding the possible human pelvic bones. Dr. Stephen Symes would conduct the examination of those bone fragments with his electron microscope, which was constructed in 2013. Additionally, Dr. Symes would make histological slides of the bones, which would confirm the origin of these fragments with absolute certainty, even if this examination could have been done with a 2005 to 2007 error microscope and histological slide. We still have the right to make an ineffective assistance of counsel argument against Mr. Buting and Mr. Strang for failing to perform these analyses. I greatly appreciate your cooperation in this matter. We would like to pick up the bullet fragment and possible human pelvic bone as soon as possible. Now, remember, this was dated 2017. We can return the RAV4 key, item C, trial exhibit 211, to you at that time. Our scientists are preparing affidavits that reflect the testing they have performed on the key, and we are preparing to file our post-conviction petition soon. Next one is an email from Kathleen to Thomas Fallon, dated April 14, 2017 at 12:16 p.m. Dear Mr. Fallon, and this is asterisked, it has been 10 days since I sent you a letter regarding testing of the bullet fragment in pelvic bones. We are hoping to conclude our scientific testing in the near future. Can you apprise me on the status of these items of evidence? Regards, Kathleen Zellner. Now, the next one is coming on State of Wisconsin Department of Justice letterhead from the Attorney General, Brad Schimmel, dated April 20th, 2017, to Kathleen regarding scientific testing. That is, Dear Ms. Zellner, please find enclosed the Calumet County Sheriff's Office dispatch tapes for the requested time period. Also, pursuant to your request, we are providing you a copy of the flyover of the Avery salvage yard during the initial search for Ms. Hallback. According to our records, these were previously provided to trial counsel. Additionally, as previously indicated, our search of the records from the Calumet County and Manitowoc County Sheriff's Offices failed to locate a recording of the phone message Ms. Hallback left on George Zipper's voicemail service. Also, pursuant to another request from you, we are unable to determine the amount of fuel in the Toyota RAV4 at the time it was recovered on November 5, 2005. Previously, we provided copies of exhibits which were introduced into evidence, principally the photographs of the ballistic comparisons made by former crime lab analysis William Newhouse. And now this next paragraph is asterisked. As to your more recent request for production of item FL, the bullet fragment that contained Ms. Hallback's DNA fired from Mr. Avery's, it's not Stevens, it's Raleigh Johnson's, 22 caliber Marlin Glenfield rifle, and the bone fragments located 1/2 mile away in the Ranant quarry pit, identified as item 8675. These items are beyond the scope of the Preservation and Independent Testing Order of 2007 and beyond the stipulation and order entered this past November. Nevertheless, we are evaluating your requests and are inclined to make them available for further examination. But we would like to study the results from the radiocarbon F14C and DNA methylation tests to establish the age of Mr. Avery's blood, as well as the results of the body fluid source testing of the Toyota key and RAV4 hood latch. Any new and improved DNA testing results of the swabs from the RAV4 and the results of the trace testing for the presence of chemicals, solvents, or fibers on the Toyota key and RAV4 hood latch. When we began this process last fall, we agreed to proceed in stages. This first stage of testing appears to be completed, and you seem to indicate as much in our March 20th phone conference. We asked for the results of these initial tests in our March 29th email. The results and/or testing efforts will assist us in evaluating these latest requests. Paragraph 8 of both the stipulation and order provides, quote, there will be simultaneous disclosure in writing to the defendant and the state of the testing results, bench notes, photographs, and procedures employed and/or protocols used in any scientific testing of the exhibits covered by this stipulation, including but not limited to DNA methylation, DNA source testing, EDTA, and/or radiocarbon F14C of the exhibits covered by the stipulation. Italicization? How the heck do I even say that word? Added. The results will place these additional requests in context. Lastly, while you have told us who will be examining the bullet fragment, you did not tell us for what purpose and/or how any results might bear upon request for a new trial. The bone fragments have some apparent relevance, albeit marginal. Yeah. But a re-examination of item FL, the bullet fragment, does not appear to have relevance to us at this point in time. We look forward to continued discussion for these requests for scientific testing. Now another email. This one dated May 3rd, 2017 at 9:15 a.m. from Fallon to Zellner. And this is dragging on for a while, so I think it would probably be best if I just read where she has asterisked on here instead of all of it. But you can see all of this. We have everything posted. So the asterisk part of this email from Fallon to Zellner says, we would like to deal with the bullet and the bones at the same time. There are logistical and scientific concerns that we should discuss at our meeting on Friday. And I have alerted the crime lab that you will be dropping off the key between 10 and 11 on Friday. See you Friday. Regards, Tom. So basically what it is it's a standoff here. Kathleen's has been asking for this stuff, but they won't give it unless they get something else first, is what I'm getting from this. All right. So the next filing on our exhibit on here is motion for relief from judgment or order of October 3rd, 2017, pursuant to Wisconsin statute, blah, blah, blah. Let me just scroll down here to where she has asterisked, which is number 9. That says the prosecutors agreed that Drs. Stephen Symes and Leslie Eisenberg would be able to do a microscopic examination of the pelvic bones, Calumet County tag number 8675, located in the Manitowoc County gravel pit. Now it's saying the Manitowoc gravel pit, no longer saying the Ranant Deer Camp. All right. Then the next thing is defendant appellant's motion to stay, appeal, and remand the cause for new scientific testing. Let me scroll to find wherever she's got this asterisk. It's number 3 that says, Dr. Eisenberg testified that there was possible human pelvic bone in the Manitowoc gravel pit. Dr. Eisenberg was never questioned about the two other bone piles with multiple human bones identified by her, which were present in the Manitowoc gravel pit. The master index of gravel pit bones attached and incorporated herein as Group Exhibit 1. The map of gravel pit bone piles is attached and incorporated herein as Exhibit 2 to this motion. All right, okay, she's got this asterisk too, number 7. On September 18, 2017, a meeting took place in Madison, Wisconsin, where current post-conviction counsel and the state agreed to further testing of crime scene evidence. Among other items in evidence, it was agreed that a microscopic examination would be conducted of the suspected human pelvic bone found in the Manitowoc gravel pit. The parties agreed a microscopic examination of the pelvic bone by Dr. Eisenberg and Dr. Stephen Symes, Mr. Avery's forensic anthropologist, to determine if the bone was human. Clearly, by agreeing to this examination, the state recognized that the outcome of this examination was material and relevant to the larger issue in the case about the location of the murder and mutilation of Ms. Halbach's body. Prior to the parties being able to complete this microscopic examination, the circuit court, without awareness of the parties' agreement, dismissed Mr. Avery's motion for post-conviction relief. The circuit court's action is dismissing the appeal and denying Mr. Avery's motion to reconsider, and its supplements is an issue in Mr. Avery's pending appeal. All right, scanning to see. All right, here's the next asterisk part. Number 12, Prosecutor Kratz stated in his rebuttal at trial, quote, "These bones in the quarry, I'm going to take 20 seconds to talk about because the best anybody can say is that they are possible human." Prosecutor Kratz acknowledged the importance of having the bones identified as human, but he dismissed the defense claim that the bones were human because of the lack of scientific verification for that claim. Therefore, the identification of the Manitowoc gravel pit bone fragments as Ms. Halbach's is relevant and material because it would prove the murder and mutilation did not occur in a location tied exclusively to Mr. Avery. No reasonable trier of fact could conclude that if Mr. Avery murdered and mutilated Ms. Halbach in the Manitowoc gravel pit, that he would move her bones to his own burn pit and thereby incriminate himself. If the new DNA testing identifies Ms. Halbach's bones in the Manitowoc County gravel pit, two inferences are reasonable. Namely, Mr. Avery is not the murderer, and the bones recovered from Mr. Avery's burn pit were planted. There is a reasonable probability this new evidence would undermine confidence in the jury's verdict. And scrolling, where now what is asterisked is fragments of possible cut human bone, tag 8675 JPEG. Scrolling. All right, this paragraph is asterisked. Number 24. Mr. Avery meets the requirements of Wisconsin Statute 974.072C because, as stated above, the bones were submitted to the FBI for testing in 2006, but the testing was not attempted due to the charred and calcined condition of the bones. Rapid DNA ID testing was not available in 2006, but now provides a reasonable likelihood of more accurate and probative, is that the word, results. As discussed previously, the state clearly believed that the identification of the Manitowoc gravel pit bones was material and relevant because of the prior FBI testing and the September 18 agreement between the parties to further examine the human pelvic bone microscopically. Scrolling. And It's always funny when these things are all of a sudden turned sideways. So this is Master Index of Gravel Pit Files. What is asterisk is 8675. Possible human burned cut pelvis fragments. 4 calcined bone fragments of unknown origin. Fragments of possible cut human bone, tag 86675. Then this form is Calumet County Sheriff's Department case number blah blah blah, asterisk is 8675, January 17, 2006, which is bone fragments of unknown origin. Next is the affidavit of Richard F. Selden, which we don't need to read. Next are the pictures, forensic anthropology photos of Calumet County Sheriff's Department tag number 8675. So here are the pictures of the bones and a close-up picture of the bone. So, and now this is State of Wisconsin versus Stephen Avery, jury trial day 14, filed November 21, 2007. The date of this was March 1, 2007. Let me scroll to wherever she has asterisked. Okay. So this is from the trial in 2007. And this is Attorney Fallon says, yes, thank you, Judge. The parties are agreed that bone fragments identified as human from the burn pit behind Stephen Avery's garage, bone fragments identified as human from burn barrel number 2 behind the residence of Barb Yonda, and bone fragments suspected as possible human bones from the quarry pile in the Rat Ant gravel pit south of the Avery salvage yard were sent to the FBI laboratory in Quantico, Virginia on November 2nd, 2006, November 7th, 2006, and December 19th, 2006 to attempt further DNA analysis. If called to testify, Dr. Leslie McCurdy of the FBI DNA Analysis Unit would testify that due to the condition of the submitted bone fragments, no DNA examinations could be conducted. And then the court says, and Mr. Strang, is that an accurate statement of the party stipulation? And then Strang said, it is. That's the stipulation as to Dr. McCurdy's testimony where he called. And the court says, thank you. Members of this jury, you may take those facts as established. And at this time, then the state may call its next witness. And then again is the February 13th, 2019 voicemail from Mark Williams. We don't need to read that again, and the disc. So, booyah. They're covering this shit up. They are hiding this bone. That is possibly Teresa, that is at the Manitowoc gravel pit. And they've been putting it off and they gave it to the Hallback family in 2011. So when you're calling it possible bone fragments and Sweaty Sweat Sweat I'm only going to give 20 seconds to this, but then you gave that to the Hallback family. Wow. I mean, we've been talking about this, but here it is again. Kathleen is being more forceful because this is just bullshit. Stephen has not been given a fair trial ever from start to finish. Nothing is fair for Stephen. Poor people lose all the time. This is I don't know how they can deny a new trial. And if you get a new trial, I mean, what is there to even use? Wow. All right, let me scroll down to where your most recent comments are. Oh, you want me to read the voicemail? Hold on, let me scroll back up in these, and I'll read you the voicemail again. That the dum-dums. Wait, did I just skip it? It was the last thing I saw too, wasn't it? Why am I even scrolling? Okay, here it is. This was left today. And it's Mark Williams saying, "Hi, Tom. This is Mark Williams. I'll send you an email later today, but I don't think we should do anything or respond to her," meaning Kathleen Zellner, "at all until tomorrow, when we look into the bag and see exactly the pelvic bones are in there or not. So I would not respond until we look into the bag tomorrow morning, and then we can talk about it before we send a response. Thanks a lot. Bye." And those "us" are not my "us." They're in the transcript. So, wow. Always something going on. Let me scroll down to the bottom. Paul, I don't know if they can use the bones anymore given to the Hallbacks. That's what I've said. I mean, obviously, well, we have to know if they've been buried, or were they cremated, or do they have the cremains if they were cremated, and can those be tested? But I've said somebody could always argue that since the chain of custody has been broken on that evidence, that somebody could say, well, that's not really the bone. I don't know, but they should be tested regardless. Wow. Crystal says they're going to try and plant something in the bag. I wouldn't put it past them. Okay. Scrolling through your stuff. Vicky says there is a broken chain of custody when given to the Hallbacks. And Kathy says the chain of custody. Kathy Ann says, I don't believe they can be tested because the chain was broken. Tina says, finally got you live. Jeremy says, Avery must now be released as his civil rights were breached. Then Brendan. Angel says, who's the voicemail of and who we sit meant to be to? I don't know what that is. Janice says, hello from California. Joe, in all capitals, because he's angry. They are so crooked and will never admit wrongdoing. And then there's more to, yeah. Amanda says, can you summarize what all you just read? The summary, in a nutshell, is Kathleen has been asking to test these possible bones for years that have are supposed to be in evidence, and they're not turning them over. And you can see it's because in 2011 they gave them to the Hallback family. So all kinds of screwed up here. Natasha says, if they can't get the bones or use them, that should justify a mistrial. That itself should be enough. And if they're gonna, Stephen should be able to be released. He shouldn't have to post bond. They shouldn't be able to claim he's going to be a flight risk or any of that bullshit. You wronged him. He's been sitting in prison all these years. So if you're going to now try him again, he should be able to be free until you're ready to go, because you've stolen enough of his life. Corey says, how'd y'all get that voicemail? I have my ways. So I had to pay for it, but we got it. We got first. If people want to claim cred. Laura says she's so happy and excited she might pee. Crystal says, wait, so this message was an accident on Kathleen's phone? Who called and who was it meant for? It was meant for Thomas Gahn. Paul says, yep, I agree. Breaking the chain of control of bones makes that difficult to use. Cian says, shouldn't the remains be in evidence until all this is over? Also, what are they playing at leaving this voicemail? They're just running around like headless chickens. Corey says, would a retrial allow Stephen to get any form of justice for this miscarriage of justice? Rebecca says, if this was my child, I'd want the right people in jail, not just anyone that is unliked by the police. Tragic, the whole lot of this case. Lisa says, enough already, just free this poor man. And there's so many, let me just jump back down to the bottom because there's so many of it. Dee says, Angel, it was Mr. Williams Fallon, co-counsel, and it was meant to be Fallon, but to KZ instead. Okay, so people asking about that. Okay, and here's a moderator saying she can't post the filings in here, but they are posted on both the Stephen Avery Project and in our MAM gossip group. So you can go to where we've got all the exhibits, and the filings are all posted. So we don't have the voicemail to play. We just have the transcription of it. Brian says, you just couldn't write this. Fucking shocking and disgusting. Janice says, I missed so much, just came on, can't wait for the replay. Carolyn, we don't have the message, because here's another one asking, where can you hear this voice message? I was told the only way to get it is if I got it from the lawyer directly. I don't know if Kathleen Zellner is going to let people have the audio of that, or maybe she'll put it on her Twitter herself. So Paul says, do you think any chance they left the voicemail on purpose? Who knows at this point? Everything is just so screwed up. Zachary says, those bones and the RAV4 is incriminating towards the state. Melinda says, I think he left voicemail on purpose. Kathy Ann says, MAM gossip can't join for some reason. That I don't know about. Moderators would have to look in that. Joe says, free them all and put the officials behind bars and give everything they own to Stephen. Sarah says, where can I find the voicemail transcription? We have it posted, so you can look on Stephen Avery Project or in Gossip. Angel says, is this only about the voicemail? No, this is all about the bones. And then them leaving a voicemail today with Kathleen, the big dum-dum. Crystal says, I hope he gets out, writes in a book, makes a badass movie. They are all convicted of being slime balls and put under the jail. Chris says, Sweaty Sweat Sweat has been kind of quiet lately. Haven't heard him squelching for a while. Knock on wood. Good thing. Chris asking, what did the voicemail say? I've said it a couple times. Yeah, I can't copy and paste the thing in here, but you can get it on the page. No, we don't have audio, Leba. Connie says, can you imagine how hard she laughed when she heard that voicemail? Yeah, right? Oh, what was the date of the voicemail? It's today, Tammy. They left it this morning. Jillian says, what will happen to individuals that violated the law by releasing the bones? Will they be held responsible? I believe Kathleen was asked that yesterday in her Q&A, and she said it will be up to Wisconsin if they pursue these people. And we see how corrupt they are up in Wisconsin. So I'm scrolling through. Christine says there is no way these bones are Teresa's bones. It is impossible to burn human bones in a burn barrel or open fire outdoors, since human bones require a constant temperature of 1800 degrees over an extended period of time, such as is done in a crematorium. Bonfires or burn barrels rarely exceed 500 degrees Fahrenheit. But that's the thing, Christine. What if they were burned in Scott Toddock's smelter at the aluminum foundry at his work? So, and then they sprinkled them around. Courtney says, will this voicemail make anything change immediately? Well, it seems nothing gets changed immediately. But Kathleen's really closing in on them. Leanne says, you would think this man was part of the mafia, wanting to frame him in so much detail to cover their own shame. Disgusting. Paul says they cannot pay back Stephen enough, even if he was released today. No, because the 2 times he's been in there, he's lost everything. He lost his kids. He lost everything. So, all right. So I'm going to end this here. I'm not going to read through the rest of it. This will go up and you'll be able to play it from its entirety. I'm going to hop over into MAM Gossip in 10 minutes, and we will go through it over there in Gossip, so Gossip can get it all too. So ending this for now, and see you over in MAM Gossip. And if anything else develops, we'll hop on back here in SAP Project. So SAP Project, that's dumb. Stephen Avery Project. All right. Talk to you soon.